Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this October 17th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. And don't forget, you can find the location of all of our releases or all of our content at EOA.network, and that takes you to a link tree where you can find the YouTube link and Facebook and all of those different things. There's also a place where if you want to chip in to what it is that we do here at EOA, you can make a donation there. We appreciate your support, along with the businesses that continually step up and help us bring you this free content. So, how are you, man?
Good. First Friday.
Yep.
Friday.
And it's cold. The weather turned, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't like that. But
You're not wearing shorts.
no.
It must have
It's
been
my
cold.
third day wearing pants this year.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not this year. This season.
This season, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like pants days. No.
Yeah.
But I do got game day blue on today.
Good.
But I'm not biased by any means.
Not biased by any day?
Yeah, right. They all know I'm biased.
Yeah.
Like, it's just given.
Yeah.
It's just a given. Today, though, LeGrand plays Burns, so it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know if I'm a fan of this.
Oh, that's
I don't
right.
think
It's a
I am.
non-league. It's
Yeah.
a non-league team
Right
in the middle of the league season.
Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like homecoming, you should be playing a team in your league too.
Well, and and there was a conflict because, I'm trying to remember why aren't they playing a Friday game? Is it the official thing?
They were supposed to go to Burns
Oh,
tomorrow.
I see. Okay, got it.
Somehow this ended up being homecoming. I don't know how. And like I told you, nobody ever told us. We just found out secondhand. I found out from Doug Henderson on the sideline at the EOU game.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, are you
guys doing the Thursday?"
And I'm like, "Thursday," and he goes, "Yeah, I'm reffing." I'm like, "You are?" And he goes, "Yeah." So I look into it, and I'll be damned if there ain't a football game on Thursday.
No, and we had a similar incident, a couple of weeks ago in Baker City, where it's like the game that was supposed to be on a Friday ended up being on a Thursday, and we didn't.
That was because of refs.
We didn't learn about it until Thursday morning.
Yeah.
So that was almost a disaster.
I don't know. This one's not because of refs. I don't think. I mean, I guess it's been changed for a little while.
Well, maybe. Yeah. I mean, but when's the next LeGrand game after this?
The next week.
Okay. So I mean, maybe they just needed a game that they could designate for homecoming or something.
I thought it was going to be Crook County here.
Yeah.
But they probably looked at Crook County and see how good they are,
And Crook County. Yeah. Do we want to
see if we
have a
can get-
blowout game?
Yeah, let's
for
see if we
homecoming?
can get a 3A or a 2A team to come over and try to get us a win on homecoming.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily the case, but it could be.
Yeah.
'Cause Crook County's tough. I'd say Crook County's like top 3 in the state.
And they are they 4A?
They're in our conference. Yeah.
Don't look at me like that. Yeah. They're not in our. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're in our conference.
I mean, I know who's in our
Special
league.
District 5.
I know
which
who's
is
in our.
the
I know
GOL.
who's in our league, but I have no idea who's in our conference. Yeah.
That conference and league, same thing. They're in our league. Crook County is in our
Okay.
conference.
Is that must have been added then when they
They've
made the
been
adjustment?
there for, I think this is year 3, I think.
Right, yeah, so
they
it's-
change it all the time.
Right.
It's not easy to keep up on, but they're definitely in our conference. Yeah. Special District 5.
All right. Well, hey, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
Tell us more. Yeah.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit. Traxxas RC cars are hot right now. With Christmas right around the corner, I think it's time to channel your inner kid. Go grab one. They're awesome. Find your next RC car at Hobby Habit, just for the fun of it. Tuesdays, we talk scores. Thursdays, we talk schedules. Here's your schedule for EOU athletics for the weekend. Football is in Helena on Saturday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. The Mounties look to extend their win streak to 4 and beat Carroll on the road. That would be awesome, man. They've won 3 Frontier Conference games in a row. They're on a nice little win streak, and hopefully they can figure out how to keep it going in Helena this Saturday. The new rankings are out, and after the loss on Friday night to Southern Oregon, EOU volleyball moves from number 3 to number 4 in the country. The CCC is well represented, though. 3 teams in the top 10 and 4 in the top 25. EOU Volleyball has another big one tomorrow night at 6 p.m. in Quinn. They take on 9th-ranked Corbin, so it'll be another top 10 matchup in Quinn. And if you were there last Friday, that was the most packed I've ever seen Quinn. It was crazy how many people were in there, and it's just electric. The energy for this EOU volleyball team is awesome. It's off the charts. So if you have a chance, get up there and watch the Mounties. They host Bushnell as well up at Quinn on Saturday at 4 p.m. EOU women's soccer has a big one on Saturday as well. College of Idaho comes, and they'll take on the Mounties at 2 p.m. at Community Stadium. And then the men also play the Yotes at 4:30. So 2 big games. Both EOU teams, soccer-wise, are in playoff contention. They're looking to make the national tournament. And in order to do that, they either got to win the conference tournament, or get in that large bid. And both teams are well on their way right now. EOU men's and women's cross country are in Independence on Saturday at 11 a.m. for the George Oja invite. It says that it's a Linfield invite, but it's in Independence. Linfield's in McMinnville. I don't know. So I'm assuming that Linfield hosts it and they just run it in Independence at the golf course. LeGrand Volleyball plays Baker over there tonight, which is another one of the things that I kind of questioned with homecoming. Like, usually you try to have all your kids at home for the homecoming football game, but LeGrand Volleyball is on the road in Baker, while the soccer teams at LHS have the rest of the week off. Homecoming for LeGrand football tonight versus Burns Community Stadium. Also streamed live on the EOA Live Network. We will also be live streaming the Baker versus Ontario game tomorrow night at 7 on the EOA Live Network. That game's, another GOL game. Everybody else in the GOL except for us plays, I think, this week against each other. And Baker's coming off of a tough loss against us. They've had some big injuries, so that should be a game in Baker tomorrow night. In football around the Valley, Imbler hosts Cove tomorrow night for a 7 p.m. kickoff. Union hosts Powder Valley tomorrow night at 7. And Elgin has Adrian in town tonight at 7 p.m. AM Sports Report brought to you by Hobby Habit, just for the fun of it.
All right. Thank you, man. Let's look outside. It's cool this morning and rainy.
Crappy out there.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you there's some snow under that fog up there.
I'll bet so too. Yeah, I'll bet so. Yeah. Let's look at that weather graphic. See where we're at. So 47 today. This is the cool day, yeah. And then tomorrow 56, 67.
81% chance of rain. Oh, that's just great.
When is that? Tomorrow?
Today,
yeah. Yeah, I think it's 100% chance because it's raining already. But at least for the games, so the game for tomorrow night, it looks like it won't rain, hopefully. 6% chance. So
Baker's weather might be a little different.
Yeah, it might be.
That's LeGrand.
But it's going to be raining tonight. Good thing Benny is inside.
Yeah, good thing we all are.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
That's right. So, all right. Well, today we have Nelson Tracey, who is the director of the film, and it's H. Nelson Tracey, who has been the director of the film Breakup Season that was filmed in LeGrand, and tomorrow night is the homecoming premiere at McKenzie Theater at EOU, a part of the Eastern Oregon Film Festival. He'll be with us right after this.
Here in Eastern Oregon, we're blessed to live in such a wonderful area. And though it may seem mild-mannered, there's actually quite a lot that goes on in this area. And apparently, there's 2 dinguses who happen to be here that are actually crazy enough to get up at the crack of dawn to talk about it. Tune into AM Live on EOA with Brent and Doddsy, featuring special guests, weather, sports, news, and more, every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m., only on EOA Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
part of a musical group. All right, we're back with H. Nelson Tracey. How are you, man?
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I've been on your show, but never in person.
In person, yeah.
So, yeah.
And so, no, this is good. And on those remote shows, you've been better than most, I would say, that is remote because you know how to engage and stuff. But
Sure.
This is like super awesome.
Yeah, it's so nice to be here, and it's always feels great to come back to LeGrand, and this is a place that through the film festival and through so many times being here has really become a kind of a home away from home for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Tell us kind of catch us up on where you are in the release of it, and where this thing tomorrow night fits into what it is you're doing, and then what's the bigger plan.
Absolutely. So yeah, for the last 6-7 months, I've been all over the country taking Breakup Season to film festivals around the country. And the film festivals are a way to, generate publicity and interest for a movie. It's an independent film, and so getting it out to audiences who love movies and showing that, like, it's not just something that my friends and I enjoy. It's something that people in Texas enjoy,
Right.
people in Boston enjoy, and all that. And so we've been sort of generating momentum and interest, and then publicity and all these things. And that kind of takes us to, we're really at kind of the crescendo of that film festival run right now. The Eastern Oregon Film Festival, obviously very important to this film because we shot it in LeGrand. It was sort of the thing that kickstarted the whole thing. So this is what we were calling our homecoming premiere. We're bringing as many people as possible back, and right where it all began. And it is the first time everyone in LeGrand is going to get to see the film on the big screen. So tomorrow night at the Mackenzie Theater in EOU, we will be on the big screen, and everyone. We're looking like we're gonna have a full house. It's you can see the ticket sales online, and it's just if you haven't bought a ticket yet and you're planning on going, you probably should buy one today because it's looking pretty darn full, and it's gonna be a blast.
Speaking of tickets, I put the link in the comments.
Oh, excellent! Yeah. So yeah, and then the film is kind of. I do have some more exciting news that has not yet been announced, but is going to be announced Monday. So I'll give you the early access. We have confirmed that Breakup Season will have a theatrical release on November 15th. I'm actually, one of my things to do while I'm here is tap on the Granada, because their phone does, I'm like, guys, we want to play it at the Granada for a week.
Yeah.
So just trying to get a hold of them, but we have 9 other cities around the country confirmed. And then on Friday, December 6th, Breakup Season will be available on video on demand, meaning you can watch it from wherever you are nationwide. You can rent or buy the movie on all major platforms, meaning Amazon, Apple TV, Roku, Google Play, for rent and purchase. Not yet streaming, but rent and purchase. You can get the film and watch it just in time for Christmas.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Now, and if people this weekend, if the show does sell out and they want to watch, why don't you mention that?
Sure, definitely. So yeah, we have an overflow procedure. The goal, obviously, if you can be in person, it's going to be a really special event, and we want to do that. However, last time I checked, it's down to really just a few fringe seats or whatever. So if you can't do it for this weekend only, the film will be available virtually through the Eastern Oregon Film Festival. Now that is only available to people in the state of Oregon, just the way it's kind of geo-blocked. So because we have our big release coming up. But if you can't make it in person, you have the weekend to check out Breakup Season through the film festival's website. So he put the link, and as part of our homecoming, you can check it out that way. But I definitely encourage being there in person. We have some very special guests coming, and we've got 4 of our actors flying in today, and really excited to have a lot of people there for what's going to be a really special night.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Gabe is telling me, can you pull your microphone? It must be
can.
rubbing or something a little bit. Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
So is that better, Gabe?
Yeah. All right.
So
Okay. He said you got it fixed. So
okay,
thank
cool.
you. Yeah.
So
No, man, that's so. I mean, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I mean, and we're excited. We were. It was fun because we. When was that? During COVID.
yes.
Yeah. I mean,
First time I ever-
talk about that. Yeah. a
Sure.
little
First
bit.
time so I came to LeGrand as a total stranger in October of 2019, and then I ended up partnering with Chris Jennings, who runs the film festival, and we started a writing residency program, and I was one of the first 6 filmmakers to run through this program, where I spent a month in La Grande in May of 2021, living at Hot Lake Lodge, writing screenplays with the intention of writing something that could potentially be made here in town.
Right.
And that was where, and I had one screenplay I was working on that was kind of my main one. And then the one on the side was I had this Christmas breakup movie that might also be kind of interesting. And as fate would have it, that was the one that really got the momentum I needed and interest from the right people I needed to make a movie. But so back to you and me, you interviewed us all, and I was talking about kind of the writing process, and the kind of cool full circle moment is I was talking about writing a scene set at the Underground Mall, which is across the street from us here. And when you see Breakup Season tomorrow, you will see a few locations you recognize, and one of them, of course, is the Marketplace Underground. So we have a scene that shot down there, and they were gracious enough, to let us really take it over for an afternoon. And we had to switch out a couple lights because certain lights work better on camera, and other than that, made it look really nice. So,
that was kind of the beginning. We started this AM show during COVID.
You started during COVID, okay?
Yeah, and it was totally remote. I mean, even Kyle and I were, and shooting at your own computers is a lot easier than
this proper setup. Yeah, totally.
And so then that was fun because there were 5 or 6 of you.
Yeah, we had 6. Probably, I don't know if everybody attended. I can't remember, but there were 6 of us filmmakers there, and
I think there were at least 5 that were a part of that conversation.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that was fun. And so then to come to this place. So then for you to finish that film.
Yeah.
And then,
And I always had seen it, the residency was really essential for the creative process, and it also was laying the foundation for, how do we plausibly do this? And that was sort of, as, I'm a writer, I'm also a producer and a director, and that was sort of part of figuring out what's the plausibility of this, and, what would it take to make a movie in La Grande, Oregon? Obviously, it's not a place that many movies have been made before, and but the state of let's start with the state level. The state of Oregon is really friendly to indie films, and there's a lot of grants and rebates and things like that other states simply don't have. And so that was really, I saw an opportunity as a young filmmaker. This is my first feature film. I've been wanting to do this since I was 5 years old, and this is everything I've been sort of put all my life and energy into making happen. It's sort of the culmination of all that. And I saw a way to do it here in Oregon that I didn't see in LA, where I live, where it's, there's a lot more red tape around things. And, to make an independent film, obviously Hollywood is Hollywood, and that, it operates and functions. But to make a film at the scale, a smaller scale I was doing, while still feeling like a regular movie. When you watch it, I don't want you to, it should feel like any other movie you watch at home and all that. So, yeah.
So maybe, help us understand the financial benefit. How does Oregon make that easier?
Sure. So,
financially, how do they make that?
Yeah, definitely. So in most states around the country, in order to get a tax rebate on on a film, any film, you need to spend at least $1 million in the state.
And a tax rebate
tax rebate means, let's say I spend $1,000.
Okay.
I get a certain percentage back, and that's a way to encourage you to go to places you wouldn't otherwise film necessarily. So in like Georgia, where you see like Marvel shoots all their movies in Georgia, Tyler Perry shoots all his stuff in Georgia. They have a really generous, it's like 30% rebate, but you need to spend at least $1 million to even get started on that conversation. In Oregon, the minimum spend is $75,000. Way more affordable for the kind of filmmaker I'm at, you know. And we spent more than $75,000, but we definitely didn't spend $1 million. So that's sort of the range that I'm playing in. And as a young filmmaker, that's way more attainable. And we ended up getting about 18% of our budget from the state of Oregon.
Wow, that's awesome.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. So.
No, that's and most people would have no idea.
Most people have no idea, and that's one thing that's kind of cool is when you watch the movie, especially if you're watching at home, like stick around for the credits because we have a lot of different partners and affiliates, and that's really like how you make a movie is it's not like one magic person came in and gave me a big old check. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, and a lot of people really stepped up to make this film, and it's $100 here, $500 there,
Right.
$1,000 there, and so I'm very appreciative of all the people who made contributions of all levels to the film.
So now that you're at this point,
Yeah.
what have you spent? I mean, if you wouldn't mind, a ballpark. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm not going to tell you the answer to that, because
all right.
I think there are so many things that came in kind support. Like for
Right,
example,
right.
Kerner Cameras, who's based in Portland, they gave us an unheard of discount on our camera gear, and so it's like if I told you a number, it's going to make it seem lower than it actually is, because so many people came in lower than what they actually normally would. We also shot in the off season. We shot in February of 2023, so that meant hotels could give us a big discount, because it's normally a time of year where maybe the landing hotel doesn't have many rooms that are being occupied.
Right.
We filled the landing for a month, and so we were able to get a lot of in-kind support and things like that on top of actually spending money.
So less than $1 million, though.
Less than $1 million. Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
And more than 7.
And more than 75. So that's a pretty good range. Like split the diff, and it's somewhere in that range.
Right.
Yeah.
But when it's funny because when I will watch a movie on stream, or whatever it might be, I will I wonder how much they spent on this movie, or how much they paid. I mean, there was a new release recently with George Clooney and Brad Pitt.
Yep.
And
That
each of them were like $15 million.
Oh, of course.
Like
That movie probably spent $1 million on coffee.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Right,
seriously,
right,
yeah.
right, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's how that's where it's like you're up against that, and ultimately movies are movies. Like we're trying to do the same things they're doing, but on a much more. So if you don't have money, what do you have? You have to be really resourceful, and you have to do your homework. I got here a month before filming, and I did a ton of preparation because we only had 15 shooting days to make this movie. That is no time at all,
Wow.
And so I couldn't get. I'm sure with a film, I don't want to disparage that film in particular, but on a film of that scale, you've got a lot of time to figure out all the different angles you want to get and all that. I didn't have the luxury of time,
Right.
I had even if money was an issue, my actors were only available. Chandler had immediately Rafter had a thing to go to, so it was a hard out on that last day.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of preparation so that I could get just what I needed to make this movie and no more. And that having an editing background helped me a lot, in terms of prepping that.
Right.
Because I knew kind of what I needed, and more importantly, what I didn't need. A lot of times, like when I was on a student film sets, we're taught, okay, you get the establishing shot, and then you get, if we're shooting this scene here, it's like, okay, we get the wide shot, the 2 shot, this other 2 shot, the kind of alt angle here, and it's like I didn't have time for all those choices, you know, and so I didn't. Yeah.
Well, because from an editing standpoint, you've understood what you've not used in the past.
Yes.
So
exactly.
so in your head, you had an understanding. This would be nice, but it's not absolutely necessary.
Yes, and
Yeah.
certain scenes, like for example, close-up, certain scenes you don't need. It's like let's just get it all as one shot or whatever, and then that way, when I do have a close-up, it's more impactful, because if every single shot is a close-up, no shots are close-ups.
Right.
It loses its.
Loses the oomph when you actually hit it. And so, I think that's what, in the absence of having big bucks, it's like having that preparation is what, that's sort of the trade-off.
Yeah. Well, hey, you sent us a clip. Tell us what's happening. We'll watch that real quick.
So we got a clip from the movie. Our trailer is not yet released, but it's coming very, very soon. So I'm able to share exclusively a 1-minute scene from the beginning of the movie. This is when everybody first arrives. So I'll just, let it play, and then we can talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Ben.
Hey, we made it. Oh, Mom, Dad, this is Cassie.
Oh, hi, sweetheart.
Hi. So very nice to meet you.
The famous Cassie.
I'm Mr. Russell.
Oh, please, Kirby. Mr. Russell's for the cops. Hi.
Hi.
Have you two met?
No, not in person.
But I love your intro to psych videos.
Yeah? Yeah? I'm gonna do more after Vlogmas. It's been so crazy.
Liz, I need you to finish the living room. I've asked you twice now.
Mom, they just got here.
Exactly.
Okay, well, where do you want us to put our stuff?
Oh, yes. Okay, you're both staying upstairs. It's a little cluttered, so don't mind that. And Well, we don't really have like a dating sleepover policy in place, but it is a full house, so just be good.
All right, let's get upstairs.
All right, man. No, that's cool.
Yeah, that's here in LeGrand.
Yeah. Now, technical. So then, you had to do dialogue replacement and all of that stuff too, right?
No,
Or
we record on set. So you have got, what you see is just 5 people.
Right.
Behind that is a whole world
Right,
of people
yeah.
working, including, you have all those actors are wearing microphones just like we are, and there's a boom mic overhead that's kind of capturing the room audio. And then, every single take, so you saw all the different angles we have, we're
Right.
recording all the audio. So then I have, 11 or 12 different takes and slightly different variations of that audio as that I can then mix together into a sound mix, and working with a team to do that.
So in that scene,
Yeah.
how many different? I mean, you had multiple takes per.
Yeah, that one, it's
But,
I think
But how many different angles
different
did you
shots
have to choose from?
So
And
that one, because we're introducing all the characters, we went around the room, and so we got, I think, it's like 5 close-ups, sort of a wide shot where we're at, and then a 2 shot of the 2 actors who are arriving. So that's at least, I'm looking at 7 to 8 different setups.
Okay.
That one I remember, the days in the winter are not long, and so we were fighting daylight, on that one I remember in particular. And so that was really the ticking clock I had also for the day is
Right.
by 4:35, it's starting to look like, we want that to all feel like the same time of day.
Right.
But imagine you're watching a movie and suddenly in one shot it's looking like it's dusk, and in another shot it's looking like bright daylight. So
Right.
so yeah, and then each take, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 runs for each one if we can.
Wow.
And so
So how long did it take you guys during a day? So how long did it take you to film that scene?
that scene is probably like a 5-hour deal. Yeah, when you add it all up. I mean, because each day you're trying to do a few different scenes, but it's hard. So, well, let me back up by saying this: a full shooting day is a 12-hour day.
Okay.
And that includes everybody arriving in. You can start with a little bit of breakfast, and then the first thing you do is I show everybody what we're doing today. So I would say, okay, we're in the entryway. We're filming this scene, and this is kind of what we're doing. And then the actors do a scratch pass. We're not recording, just so that everybody can watch what the blocking looks like and all that. Mm-hmm. I make all the adjustments there. Then the actors go into makeup and costumes while the camera crew lights it all and gets it all ready. Then we start filming that scene. And then if there are multiple, in a usual day, there's 3 or 4 scenes like that we're going to do. And so each one of those requires its own setup. And then, if we're filming, like let's say we're filming in a bedroom, for example, we don't want to have to come back to that bedroom. So we're going to film all the scenes in the bedroom that day.
Right.
And I have somebody making sure, okay, in this scene, Chandler's wearing a red shirt because this takes place on this day. Now, all right, Chandler, go switch into the white shirt because now we're filming the next day. And so, yeah, it's really fun. I mean, it's pretty wild. And if you've ever, I think one of the coolest things, because I'm kind of at the center of the eye of the storm with these type of things, and so occasionally I'd be really stressed out and not reminded of how chaotic it was. But we would have visitors come from LeGrand, like locals who came in, and they'd be just like wide-eyed wonder of all the just mechanics that make a movie set move. And every time I saw someone who'd never been on a movie set before come in, it just reminded me how special all this was.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Absolutely. I don't know if you remember when we talked about one of the things I like to do, in movies, is find discrepancies.
Discrepancies, yeah.
Is there any one that sticks out that I need to find?
You don't
have to tell me.
There are a few. I'm able to watch it. We nipped most of those.
Did
and
you?
Yeah, we did. There's a whole job on set who's making sure they aren't there. I mean, certainly you'll see moments where maybe if you're in the wide and you come to the close up, maybe someone's arm is slightly different or whatever. And if you're really looking, you will find some stuff like that. But I'm proud of the fact that it's not. There's nothing glaring,
Some producer directors leave a couple in on purpose.
Well, and sometimes it's it's the best performance I have, and I'd rather have a good performance than worry about
Absolutely.
Her elbow's slightly different in this,
Right.
Then that's more important because that's just going to wash over you as you watch, as long as it's not glaring. I mean, if you find any,
Do you feel like you were hard on yourself? Like, were you like, hey man, this is my first real shot at like making it big.
I feel like I, to use like a sports analogy, like I feel like I left it all on the field.
Good.
Like
That's what you should.
I feel like, so I've seen the movie a lot of times now with a lot of different audiences. You can imagine, and I've seen it in many different states with many different sites. I've seen it with 10 people in an audience. I've seen it with 100, 200 people in an audience. If tomorrow night goes as planned, it will be our biggest audience to date. We'll have 420 in the audience.
Awesome.
It's always a little different each time, but I can watch it and be like, yeah, I've got no notes. I made the movie that I wanted to make, and it's a really good feeling. It's
sure.
It's awesome. So,
And I've had the privilege of creating media and then watching it in front of an audience.
Yeah.
And it's really special when they laugh or they're emotive at a place where you hoped that they would be.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's what's cool about breakup season is it's a nice balance of comedy and drama, and there's a little bit of both, and so you kind of get to feel the whole range of emotion. And I've seen that with crowds, where it's like certain scenes are just like dead silent on purpose, and then certain scenes are just raucous laughter and all that. So and I don't know, it's always a little different every time. There's certain, and that I think, but for LeGrand, there's going to be so much specific stuff that you're going to see that's so tailored to this place. Yeah. I'm so excited for tomorrow. This is not just another stop on the tour. Like, this is really a culmination of everything.
Well, there's a direct connection there too.
Yeah.
And just hearing how it's going to be. What were you going to say?
No, I was just like, I really wanted to be there, and we have a football game tomorrow night. But how? I mean, you're right. I mean, as an audience member, I want to, as a citizen, I want to enjoy all of those things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there will be whoops and hollers at really unconventional places,
stuff,
like, hey, that's Hot Lake, or
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah, that's I think going to be really fun, and we're very aware. The cast and all that. Part of why they're excited to come to this too is just to hear those gasps and those like, oh my gosh, that's my street or my restaurant.
Or you're going to see people
People yes,
there's no doubt.
Yeah, I'll tell one kind of the cool, like, I think the most successful local story was a young woman named Stormy Kamara, who worked at the local. It's called The Local, the coffee shop and ice cream place. We needed background actors. We had about 30 to 40 people in some level be background actors, but I had a speaking role and I needed to find someone, and the day of, I cast her, and next thing you know, she's in one scene in the movie, and she's interacting with all the other cast who you just saw in the clip, and you'll see what her role is, but I think it was a really cool to have like a local casting moment,
Yeah.
And she was terrific. After her first, I did her close up, and after take 2, I was like, okay, on this one, I need you to quit whatever else you're doing and go pursue an acting career.
Yeah,
because you got what it takes. Yeah, she's great. So total natural.
How
I think
awesome
she works
is that?
for the Forest Service.
Yeah, now she's at Forest Service, and she's just moving. She's moving to, I forget where. She can tell us where, but she's moving out of LeGrand, to somewhere else in Oregon, maybe Sisters or somewhere else like that. So, but yeah, and there are a few other locals that make their way in the film, and we shot one scene with a whole bunch of background actors, so that'll be fun to
people's claim to fame.
look and see. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's come back, because I'm a geek. Let's come back to the tech for a second.
Yeah,
because
please.
and most people don't understand that when you shoot a scene like what we saw, that normally that's a set that's built inside of space, and the sunlight is actually artificial.
Yeah.
It's actually these gigantic lights that are and so then. I mean, if the scene takes 10 hours to shoot, it doesn't matter, because the light outside
It's a controlled
is
environment.
Right.
Yeah.
But you shot all of this. I mean, that's the external light. That's real sunlight.
It's real sunlight. Yeah.
And this is a real house.
Yep.
So you had limited ceiling space for.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
that's again the independent way is it's use the tools at your disposal.
Right,
yeah. And I will say this: it was really important to me to shoot it in the winter, not just because snow's on the ground, which thankfully we got, but also there's a white winter light that's really specific, and that's really hard to replicate, even in a studio. And when you're next winter, when you're looking out the window or whatever, just feel the way that the light that comes into your living room looks a lot different than it does in the summertime or all that. It looks different in California where it's further south, or all these different things. So for me, going to a real location, you get an authenticity that you can't replicate in a studio. And compare it to if you watch a movie that's done by Hallmark or a more traditional Christmas movie, and they have a scene in the snow, those actors don't look cold at all. And like my movie is about being in the winter, and it's cold here. We shot a scene and it was 7 degrees, and those actors were cold, and they looked cold, and that was important. Like it's a sense of reality, and like those are the type of films that I like, where it feels authentic, and so
I like that better too.
Yeah, it's just for me, it's like that's the kind of story. Like I saw another movie where like an actor's drinking hot chocolate and they're just like gulping it down. You're like, that's not. I immediately am taken out of that. It just feels fake to me.
Well, and you can tell all the time. You can tell when somebody picks up a cup of coffee and a thing, and it's not full.
And it's not full, yeah.
Or a box, and they're carrying in, and clearly there's not any weight in that. You see that in TV all the time.
Exactly, and that has nothing to do with your budget level. It's like, I just want to create a degree of reality, and so, and we did film at a house that's, up at Morgan Lake Road, and it was, for me, one of the last steps of the writing the screenplay was, okay, now I'm at the house, I need to adjust what I have in my imagination to fit with what I have.
Right,
and so scenes like that entryway scene, we shot based on where it made sense to shoot it and all that, and based on the parameters of the house, which help make it feel, very lived in.
So, but you've got to be a pretty good problem solver, because when you do these kinds of things, you run in and you get into the real life set that you're going to shoot this in, and it's like, oh, this isn't going to work at all how I imagined it.
And here's where I'll give a lot of credit to my team. And it's our producing team was myself, Steven Mastercola, and Rafi Jacobs. Rafi's here in town right now. Steven will be here, the set later today. So we're all returning. And the three of us on set, it's like, I'm good cop, Steven is bad cop, Rafi is super bad cop. And so if there's a really major problem, Rafi's the one who really, rolls up his sleeves and makes it happen. And he's the guy who makes sure the grip truck gets up the hill, no one gets stuck in the snow, that catering arrives on time. If there are major conflicts, he's sort of looking 2 steps ahead. If we're coming in to shoot in downtown La Grande, he's the one who's calling the city and making sure everything's clear and all that. Because I'm busy with the actors. He's the one who's sort of 10 steps ahead, making sure that's all working. And and then Steven is kind of, while I'm focusing on the creative choices that day, Steven's one said, okay, now we need costume coming in. Okay, now we need makeup coming in, and all those choices. And so it's really like this elaborate dance. But yes, problem solving happens. We were in a situation where like we wanted the snow in the film, and we had shot a couple scenes at downtown La Grande, and it wasn't snowing, but that was the day we had on our schedule. Well, the next day we got the snowstorm we needed, and it was this tricky trade of, okay, we're gonna have less time to do this, but do we go back and reshoot a couple of scenes? And I was like, and I put my head together and I was like, okay, I can do the later scenes a lot quicker if we make one adjustment, which we did, and then let's get the shots the way we came all this way to La Grande for the snow.
Right.
Let's live in the snow a little bit here. And that was, I have both those side by side, and I'm so glad we redid those scenes, because they just didn't look it looked like it could be, April or something like that, without the white snow on the ground. Problem, it's all day long you're problem solving, and all day long you're fighting the clock and making sure, juggling all these different things, and different crew and all that. So
but you have to have, clearly though, people followed you, the cast followed you. You've got this whole, you guys are trying to solve problems, you're figuring that doesn't happen at the snap of a finger. And so there's the actors, all of that, they're in a queue, they're just waiting for the things to happen.
Two things on that. Yeah, one is, I'm not a person of fame or anything like that, and so the screenplay was what really got people involved. And so
they love the story,
and reading it through and being like, I see this as great potential as not only for my career as an actor or a crew member, but also just could be a good movie that I would be proud to have my attachment to. And then secondly, and this is relevant to us specifically, is we were creating a life experience. When else in your life are you going to go to rural Oregon for 3-4 weeks and live out here? And on weekends, it wasn't on a normal job or whatever. You go home to your partner or your kids or whatever, and have a quiet weekend. Here, it was like a big summer camp. We're all here together, and there are 2 bars in town, and actually I think there are 3, but we spent a lot of time together at those places and got to really like be a family unit. And that's, I remember when Jacob Isaki, who plays the older brother, when he first read the script, and he has a pretty successful comedy career, so he was at the point where he was deciding if he wanted to do it, and I met with him on Zoom, and I was like, well, LeGrand's the kind of town where you can get a cocktail for $4.50 here, and he's like, I'm in, I'm going. So.
That's true.
No, that's cool. So now, did you have to come back again to do some cleanup shots? I'm trying to remember. Is that normal? Yeah.
That's a long. I think pickup stuff are normal. When you see the movie, that'll make sense as to why we did it.
Okay.
But yeah, we had built in a little bit of time to get a few additional things. I think because we have this, at the very beginning of the movie, there's this nightclub sequence, and I knew I wasn't gonna be able to get 30 actors to dance or whatever in the amount of time we had. So we added that scene on as a sort of return.
Well, and I remember that during the actual shooting, you were using the HQ space as that was your staging.
It was a staging ground. So it just allowed us to really focus and make that scene well done as opposed to, also people can dress for it, whereas in the wintertime, it's very hard to dress for like a nightclub setting or whatever. Yeah. And so, so we did some, supplemental stuff that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so how did the city go? I mean, talk about what you might have experienced. We talked about Oregon being a friendly place.
That's right. Let's talk about LeGrand. Yeah. So first of all, one of the beautiful things about it is there's no red tape. It's like we can call the city and immediately get things we need. We were originally going to shoot at Pendleton Airport, and then last minute, that was sort of that story I was telling. We realized we better shoot at Union County Airport because of a snowstorm coming. We called Union County Airport that day, and they arranged for us to shoot. And we were like, well, what about planes? Do we need to worry, anything like that? And they're like, if you see a plane, just get out of the way,
Sounds like rural Oregon.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then the city itself, we didn't even need to close any streets off. We were able to do a few, when you see the movie, like we pulled off some stuff that you could never pull off in a big city, even in like a moderate sized town, And I think, so there's that kind of built-in support system of just like being able to access things that you just don't have access to. And I think one of our biggest champions was Timothy Bishop, who works at the city and was really kind of our, our liaison to the powers that be that allowed us to do stuff like that. And and I think in terms of working with like the Chamber of Commerce and like the TRT committee and things like that, I think there was a lot of just uncertainty of what we were doing at first, but that by the time we got to do it, we were able to show this is not just like me with a video camera. This is like a legitimate production, and we're going to make something special here. And so I think tomorrow night is kind of the way of like showing like, okay, guys, now you see what we actually were really doing all this time and what all this hard work was. So, I'm in short very grateful for everyone in LeGrand and so many different individuals and businesses. So many people allowed us to film their locations for no cost, which is unheard of, and things like that. So so many ways that the city came and helped.
Well, and I think, but part of that is credit to you. And I know that you're, I've known you enough that you kind of push this stuff away. But I mean, the first time I had been aware that you guys were shooting stuff, and I'd seen you around, but I hadn't had a chance to meet you at all. And but the first time that I visually saw you was when you came. It was the end of your shooting, and you came to the city council meeting.
Oh yeah.
And you thanked them for LeGrand hosting. You know, and that was very gracious. And a lot of people would not do that. I mean, that's enduring. I mean, that Eastern Oregon people like. He's grateful. He's not arrogant. He's not. I mean, and those are the things. I mean, that's.
I can't afford to be arrogant, man. Like I think it's just you have to be appreciative because so many people do amazing things to make this movie happen, and that's where like when we're talking about the whole scale. It's like all the different people, like Carolyn Thompson, who's local here. We had a blast of like, anyone want to help with the film and all that, and it was challenging to like find people who are available and all that. And Carolyn's like, I'll be a driver, and she ended up being our VIP cast driver. She was on time every single day to pick up the cast at the hotel, drive them to location and back each day, and they loved her. And by day 2, day 3, she knew all their coffee orders, and she just like really befriended them in a way that was more magic than anybody we could have found anywhere else. And so I think I'm so appreciative of people like Carolyn, and I think all of those fingerprints on the movie really make the difference. And LeGrand is so vital to this movie existing that that's where that comes from.
Yeah. So I want to go back to you mentioned the third guy that was the really bad cop.
Oh, yeah.
Made sure that
yeah.
What is his name?
Rafi Jacobs.
Yeah, Rafi. Yeah. Well, so we have a guy like that in our crew, Lee Wright,
okay.
and because it's the rigging stuff. When we're getting ready to set up whatever it might be. I mean, so if the platform there's, or if the camera doesn't fit, or if something happens to be built. That's the stuff that just bogs us down personally.
Yeah.
And having somebody is like, fix that, solve that problem, is just like.
Exactly. Because what happens sometimes is some bystander will walk by and they'll freak out and get mad and like, what are you doing? All this stuff. And it's nice to have somebody who you can be like, go ahead and talk to Rafi. He'll take care of you. So
that wouldn't be Lee's strong.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Just the actual like physical part would be Lee's strong
but problem solvers are like, they're unreplaceable.
Yeah, and Rafi is one of those guys who like has a heart of gold, but he has the ability to be firm in negotiation and all that stuff, which is a really great skill set to have. And I think when you're putting together your team, you want people who have different personality traits and things like that, and who are strong at different areas.
Right, but I was like, the one scene that I stopped in for just a minute was you were getting ready to shoot something down the sidewalk outside of the bowling alley. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I think it was Steven that I interacted with.
Oh really? Okay. Yeah.
And I was just there, and somebody came by with coffee and was giving coffee to the cast and whoever was there and stuff. Yeah. And Steven turned was like, "Do you want a cup of coffee?" And I'm like, dude, I'm just a bystander. I mean, it's like, but still, that was, didn't have to be endearing to me.
No, and
but
it was, yeah. And I'm glad. I mean, rock on, Steven. And it's like we are like so many people were part of this equation that we wanted it to feel like anyone in LeGrand would feel a sense of ownership of this film.
Yeah.
And I think that was, like I want people in LeGrand to feel like this movie belongs to each and every single one of you, and that's a good example of it. That's a really good scene too, and you'll know it when you see it, when you see the movie. But it's a special scene. So yeah.
Huh.
So I know I've asked you this before.
Okay.
But it's still fascinating to me. Okay, so film festivals just had some odd films from time to time. I mean,
let's talk about that.
And that's part of the nature of the vehicle is that it's independent, and people are doing things that are personally close to them.
Yeah.
So, but this is a mainstream. I mean, you targeted this movie for the main. I don't know, what did you call that?
The general audiences.
Yeah. How did you make that decision personally? And were you okay with putting something that might not have been that way aside so that you can do this? I mean, how did you make that decision?
Sure. Well, when I had this concept for a breakup during Christmas time, I had someone be like, "Oh, you could bottle it up and sell that to Hallmark instantly."
Right.
That's
like cliche
it's just
Hallmark.
all right there, And I was like, that's not the kind of movie I want to make. Like, I'm making a movie about a breakup and what that looks like, and it's set during Christmas because Christmas is the only high stakes holiday. If it was 4th of July, they'd figure it out. It'd be all right,
We'd way different.
survive the thing. But Christmas is it's a high stakes holiday, and then the weather plays a role in this. So I was like, if I'm going to tell the story with a degree of authenticity, I don't want to have the oversight of Hallmark or whatever, and they would have given me way more money, but I would have been at it would have been their movie.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
I would have just been like a stooge essentially to make their type of film. I didn't want to do that, and so film festivals are a way to, you know, exhibit a movie without having to go through all those, you know, powers that be. It's a more you submit directly to the film festival, and a film festival brings an audience, an annual audience every year to see movies, and they want to show stuff that's interesting too, but they also want to give audiences a chance to see stuff that they wouldn't otherwise get to see, you know, at the Granada or at a regular movie theater, you know, and so I think in terms of like appeal and how all that is, I think a good film festival has a nice something for everybody, you know,
Right.
and I think this year's, I've seen a few of the films in the 2024 program at other festivals and things like that, but I think this year's Eastern Oregon Film Festival is a really great eclectic range of, you know, you've got great documentaries, you've got what I would call art films, you've got like this movie called The Way We Speak that's like a very high stakes, you know, kind of, it feels like almost like a courtroom movie, but it's set at a, you know, keynote speaker presentation where these people are kind of sparring verbally with each other and you know, stuff like that. And then there are a few I haven't seen I'm really excited for. There's a movie called Putty Sticks, the closing night movie that's a comedy, and I'm really excited to see it. I've heard great things from other festivals. So yeah, I think it just, back to the original question, I think festivals just allow you a little more creative freedom, and then you hope that film festivals see a potential in that and screen it for audiences. But you know, I have some kind of more artsy fartsy
Well, that's
stuff
where I was
driven
going.
in,
Was
you know.
you have some more alternative stuff in your pocket.
I think for my first movie, I wanted something that was a relatable story, you know, and it's ultimately about relationships and characters. I think what the independent model allows you to do is tell something with that authenticity that if this was made by Hollywood, they would have shot it in Santa Clarita with a snow machine, and it would have been just very artificial, and all those things that were annoyed with, they wouldn't have cared because it would have made money, you know, and all that, and had, you know, they also probably would have cast people who look like, you know, like GQ models as all the characters, and just like I wanted, you know, and my actors are very good looking, but I wanted people to look
they ain't
like
ugly.
They ain't, no, I'm just saying, like, but like they look like real people. They don't look like you know, like artificial and all that. I think that's, you see people where it's like everybody looks like they're out of a, you know, Pottery Barn catalog or something like that. So yeah,
you certainly are a person who understands nuance and kind of lives in part of that, and I'm that way too. I mean, nuance really subtle things matter to me. Yeah, and there are some people that they won't get that. They won't understand, you know, why I'm intense about something, and a lot of that dwells in the nuance. Mm-hmm. When you talk to non-nuanced people, do you find that? I mean, that's a totally different direction.
I think that it's, when you watch a full movie, it's really hard to pinpoint why some movies are so good. And this is the land I've committed my life to living in, you know. It's like, why is it, you know, it's all these different minutia elements, and that's a director's job is to pay attention to the nuance, you know, so that when you watch it, it does kind of wash over you. But then you're like, yeah, why does this movie feel so much better than another holiday breakup movie I've watched, you know? And so yeah, I love that stuff, down to like stuff like the font choices on the credits, you know what I mean? Like all those choices I've at least had some, you know, involvement in. Obviously, I have a big team of people who work with me, but like, you know, that's all that stuff makes a tiny little difference, adds up to a great project.
Do you ever have partners, or that you're working with on this project that go like, this doesn't really matter, you're getting lost in the process here?
Oh, that's a good question. I think my job, part of my job is also to defend why I'm paying so much attention to it. Yeah. I think about that a lot with like the sound mix process, which is where you're paying attention to, like, you're literally thinking about like, okay, does the wind you hear in the background, is it like or is it like a slow wind or whatever? Yeah. And one thing, for example, with the snow sound, like when a traditional sound designer puts snow sound in, they want to have like lots of that. I was like, keep the snow quiet. If you've ever been outside on the snowfall day,
it doesn't make any noise.
It makes no noise.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Whereas, but
if you're walking in it, it does.
If you're walking in it, it does.
When it hits the ground, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Yeah, and so we, you know, choosing the moments of silence, and there are moments where you want some like howling wind or whatever, but in general, like, I'm paying attention to those details and talking with someone about it, and then we would try different things out and really have to like defend each choice or whatever, so that I'm not just like making it up or pulling out of stuff. And that's, I have to defend those nuanced choices and show why I think they're worth doing.
Well, and that's how our shop runs. I mean, the guys that edit, they have a lot of power over what it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's got to be intentional, and they've got to be able to defend their decisions. And so,
yeah,
I totally get that.
And I want everybody on the everybody working on the film has to be that detailed about their specific department.
Awesome.
Costumes, for example. I want a costumer who knows way more about costumes than I do.
Of course.
Erin Toft, who did costumes, she did an amazing job with like, this is why this character is wearing this particular outfit, and taking ownership of her role in a way. And imagine an entire team where everybody is that precious about what they're doing. That's going to make a pretty damn good movie.
Yeah. So you left it all on the field, you feel.
Yeah.
Is there anything looking back that if you had the chance to go back and do something different or organize it differently, that you would have done? I mean,
it's
some
a
things
trade-off.
that you could correct. Yeah.
There's always a feeling of like, oh, in some ways I wish I could have started sooner, but also if you start sooner, like people want to join a moving train, and the momentum, because it all seemed to happen in a blur of space or whatever. 2 years ago, I came out to La Grande in October to scout the film, and it felt like, man, we could have gotten so much more done or whatever, but we kind of needed it to happen fast, because that's just how these things work. If I say I'm going to make a movie in 2029, people aren't going to want to help out with that, But if I say I'm making a movie in January, people are like, oh, okay, what do you want? What do you need? So that's, I think that any takeaways or lessons I had, the short answer is I don't have a ton, but I think that when I make my next film, I have such a better understanding of kind of like the relationship building you were talking about with the city and things like that. I don't know if I'll make my next movie in La Grande, but wherever I make it, I have such a better understanding of how to work with a community and work with crew members and all that, and build all that stuff out. So I don't have anything I would change about this particular one. There's some small things, but in the grand scheme of thing, no. But I think they all help, make me a better filmmaker as I continue my career.
Awesome.
Before we get out of here, I have two quick ones.
Yeah, hit me.
Outside of the breakup season realm.
Yeah.
I read something like you're working on like a soccer movie.
I am. Yes.
Can you are you at liberty to talk
yeah.
about it? I'm just interested because it's...
Yeah, definitely. I've been working with a director named Dan Egan, and he is working on a documentary about Clyde Best, who played for the Portland Timbers, among other things. His most notable thing he did was he was one of the first black athletes to play at West Ham United in the UK and play soccer there. So I've been on and off involved as a producer and an editor for a couple of years now. Cool. Documentaries take a little bit longer momentum to build and all that, but it's coming along, and if all goes to plan, I think that should be ready for 2026.
Oh, that's cool. And then what's next? What's next for you?
For me, I've got another documentary that I'm producing that is coming out next year about the creator of Pantone, the Pantone color matching system.
Oh yeah, I know Pantone. Yeah,
so when I'm not on breakup season, this is what I've also been working on, is involved with this other film. So that's actually almost done, and that'll be ready for film festivals in 2025.
Do you prefer documentaries? Is that
no, I prefer narrative, but my career has mostly led me in the documentary space.
I was going to say, because you did I've looked at, you did Ski Bum. And,
I just kind of fell into docs as a way. I mean, I started as an editor, and there's a lot more work in documentary editing because they have so much more stuff to sort out and all that. And you guys know. And then narrative-wise, I have 2 or 3 screenplays that I'm ready to do next. But I need to, I need to see breakup season all the way home. With take it home to Christmas, all that, and then pause, regroup, take a nice vacation, and then do it all again.
Will the next shoot be more traditional, like LA or?
It depends on the budget. It depends on if someone hands me $1 million or more to make a movie, maybe. But I have a feeling, to be honest, it's going to be very similar, where it's like I arrive in a town and I say, this is what we want to do. And,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I mean, the finances are definitely to the bone, and I think on the next one I'll allow myself a little more, so I can live a little more comfortably. But other than that, that's so there's stuff like that. But I think in general I enjoy the process much more, and you get way more enmeshed in a place. And yeah, the independent model is fun.
Cool.
So yeah.
Very good.
So, tell us one more time before we quit.
Yes.
Tomorrow night and the film, and then just generally the film festival
Yes.
begins. Yeah.
The film is Breakup Season. It is playing tomorrow night at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Mackenzie Theater at EOU. Last I checked, there are only a few tickets left, so don't wait. And it is assigned seats. It is, we are expecting a full house, so you can purchase tickets online through the Eastern Oregon Film Festival.
Links in the comments.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's happening all weekend long. The Eastern Oregon Film Festival here in La Grande. It's the reason I first came out to La Grande, so it's a very special festival to me. Their opening night film is tonight at 7, and all weekend long you're going to see movies, short films, documentaries, comedies, dramas, you name it. And so yeah, visit their website, and I recommend just buy a pass and see as much as you can. And if you can't watch it all, there's a virtual component also. And so it's really, it's a special weekend, and you'll see a lot of filmmakers in the shops and restaurants and all that too.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Hey, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thanks,
taking
Brent.
the time. I know it's a busy weekend, and really appreciate you being here with us. Yeah.
Absolutely, glad to do it.
Well, get us out of here.
Let's do it. On this day, October 17th, 1814, the London beer flood, bursting vat at the Voo Beer Company floods the city streets with over 300,000 gallons of porter. It killed 8 people in 1814. Beer. And then later, a 9th from alcohol poisoning. This is a true story, too. That's crazy. 1871, U.S. President Ulysses S. Grant suspends habeas corpus in parts of South Carolina during prosecutions against Ku Klux Klan. I think that was the first time that it had ever happened. 1888, Thomas Edison files a patent for the optical phonograph, which was the first movie. 1933, Albert Einstein arrives in the U.S. as a refugee from Nazi Germany. 1979, Mother Teresa of Calcutta awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. 1991 was the Blue Man Group's first performance public ever in New York City. And then 2019, the Blob, a mysterious yellow slime organism. I'm not going to try to say the scientific name of it because I'll butcher it. With 720 sexes, moves and can solve problems, goes on display at the Paris Zoological Park. The number one song on this day in the country, in the United States in 1984, I just called to say I love you, Stevie Wonder. And then the quote of the day comes from Colin Powell. Perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. One more time. Perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. That's it.
Awesome.
Football tonight, 7 o'clock right here on EO Live. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Get your butt up there and check out the Eastern Oregon Film Festival and check out Breakup Season. It's going to be awesome.
Yep. Hey, thank you, Nelson.
Yeah, thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
you being here. Yeah.
Absolutely. So.
All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow night and Friday night right here.